Now, how hard can it be? Even a man who is pure at heart and says his prayers by night can become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. Just try and do it without growling and snarling and getting all frothy at the mouth. You're like a bunch of animals. Hey, folks. Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man. Your services. Yes, he's on the Wolfman trail again. Oh, yeah. And I'll never stop. I'll never be satisfied until I genuinely become a Wolfman myself. Wolfbane, full moon. I find whiskey turns me into a monster. I don't need no seasonal moon changes for that, no lunar cycle. Just whenever I down one of these, I go a prowling and a howling. Folks, how are you all? I hope you're doing very, very well. Now, yeah, I know, it's been a few videos since I banged on about the Wolfman. My favourite monster of all time. Yes, you know. And I have the mask. That's what this video is about. It's about the Wolfman mask from Jasper Anderson and Trick or Treat Studios and Cheney Entertainment. Cheney as in Lon Chaney Jr., who played the Wolfman and made it his role. And that mask came out back end of last year, and woo, I was so looking forward to it. A little howl crept in there, ooh, and I was not disappointed. Many people were for some reason, but I wasn't. I love the mask. And you've seen the American Werewolf in London, the big Kessler Wolf mask from Trick or Treat Studios. There is Trick or Treat Studios, Kessler Werewolf, Oliver Reed, Wolfman, which is fantastic. And there is the, the odd one out. He is the Benicio del Toro remake of the Wolfman. But that mask is just pure latex, no fair. It's just a pure sculpt. And that is it's from Ruby's, I think. Yeah, I'm right. I hope. I don't mind that mask at all. I've done a video on that mask, and I don't mind it. It clearly is derived from the old Jack P. Pierce makeup for Lon Chaney Jr. as the original and best Wolfman. And I like it. I think it looks good. Rick Baker did the effects for the remake of the movie because, of course, American Werewolf, he devised the techniques to be used in The Howling, but then he vamoosed and went on to John Landis's production for American Werewolf, leaving Rob Bottin, his young protege, to do the effects for The Howling, and The Howling came out first, although, as all the blurb for American Werewolf said, like, special effects guy deserves an Oscar, and on the video packaging, the next blurb is, he got one. 1982 Academy Awards. And yeah, Rick Baker he loves his wolves without a doubt. So he was brought on board for the remake of the Wolfman and came up with a very, very respectable and respectful design using prosthetics and pure, facial appliances and pure makeup. The transformation sadly did devolve into CGI as well, and really there's some flash cuts and elements, the eyes changing, the skin changing colour. That wasn't too bad, but overall I was not impressed with the transformations in that movie. The makeup effects for Del Toro in the costume are fabulous, definitely fabulous. I love it. I love the way he's big, he's shaggy, and he's snarly, and he looks like my older brother. Paul, if you're watching, it's a good look. It's a good look. And my brother Paul always reminded me, even when I was a kid, he's way much older than me, he always reminded me of Lon Chaney as the Wolfman. It was just the face, the hair. Yeah, he's got curly hair. I've got curly hair. I know you wouldn't believe it at the moment, but I do have very, very curly hair. But his hair really matched the way that it was, the shaggy sort of mane that Lon Chaney had as the Wolfman. Anyway, preambles all aside, the purpose of this video is to show you that yet again you can do your own little rehaul or rehowl on your masks. Now, when I got the Trick or Treat Cheney Entertainment Jasper Anderson Wolfman mask, I was elated, and I've done it's featured in many videos, in fact, many videos, and I unboxed it and I've done a big full review of it as well. But I always knew that some people were not happy with that mask. certain elements they weren't too pleased with. Their version arrived and the hair was slicked back, and it shouldn't be slicked back, it should be tufty and slightly curled over. Jack P. Pierce, as we know, used red hot singeing irons, hair tongs basically, to singe the yak hair that he was applying painstakingly to Lon Chaney's poor head, and like he burnt them to give him a frazzled look, to make it more matted. I haven't gone that far, but I have begun to do a slight modification of this mask, because wherever I am in the house, this mask is never too far away. And I can say the same about this as well, from our good friend and channel contributor Steve 007 Smith, who sent me the prop replica that I've wanted more than anything else in the world. And I've got many, many great prop replicas, and a lot of original stuff as well from the movies. So, but the silver-headed wolf cane from the Wolfman, and that is silver. He found the guy that actually did this in the States to the exact specifications and lacquered it in silver. Woo! See him howling again? But that's never far away from me. Never. I love it. And nor is this mask. There he is. Jasper Anderson's fantastic ToTS and Cheney Entertainment mask, which came out in 2020 as part of the big universal push that ToTS were doing. And I've shown you lots of their masks from that range. Now, what have I done to it? Well, you might well ask, what have I done to it? If you've seen the previous videos that I've done on it, if you've seen the imagery from this before, you'll know, or you should know instantly, that it's a lot darker. Yes, it is. The skin, the leathery skin, is much, much darker than it was on the initial release. The lip, probably in the light here, you're not getting that. Maybe move it further back, perhaps. But the lip, I've now coloured the lip a little bit more. You've got to be very subtle with some of these things. But whereas I was subtle with the lip, I was not so subtle with the colour change. I wanted to change the colour. I wanted it darker. So I went into every crevice. I went into pretty much all of it. And I used, yeah, you know it, because you've seen my previous videos where I've worked on that. And I haven't really worked on you. All I've done on that one, by the way, is just snip slightly the hairs around the bridge of Oliver Reed's nose, and you know, because it was very, very profuse and tufty, and I've took it down a little bit. I don't know, re-holding modification wise, there's things you can do to that. The raspberry ripple effect here is slightly a bit too overt. That looks more like from his original, his jailbreak transformation when he turns around. That's how it looks, and he hasn't fully transformed. So that kind of needs to be toned down a bit for the full effect, I think. But, you know, the point of this video is to show you what you can do with masks that can, and perhaps for your own authenticity, should perhaps work on a little bit. Many masks don't need it. And again, as I've always said, you know, the sculptor has come out with a grand design and he's done a painstaking job. What happens once it goes off to be mass produced and down in Mexico, when he starts spray painting it all, that's where some of the problems will be encountered, and the hair may not be quite as immaculate as the ones that you see advertised on their official channels, their official commercials, and all that publicity marketing blurred. That now looks a hell of a lot more like what you see on the official Trick or Treats advertising blurred. Go and have a look, because I think that's the look they give you. Many of these do not look anything like that when you get them. The hair is slicked back. The hair should be tufty. Now, before I go any further, let's talk about the fur. Now, I have not done any singeing on this. I haven't. I've kind of... You don't want to do it because this is latex, folks. This can go up in flames. It can melt onto you. You could be transformed into the remnants of your expensive, hard-earned cash, mask that you've just bought. So you don't want to be doing things like that without really thinking first. Now, I've used hair straighteners on myself, on many other masks where the hair, it's arrived and it's good, proper good synthetic. I don't know what they use. Some of it's very, very horribly synthetic, and you just don't touch that. That's just going to incinerate straight away. But some of it, oh, that feels almost real. Oh, that's good. And if it's all curly and it shouldn't be, then you can straighten it out. His buddy Jack from American Wealth in London, the Theatre Jack mask that ToTS brought out, which is great. You've seen it in loads of videos. I straightened out the hair because mine was like it was an afro when mine was unboxed. I was like, what the hell is going on here? So with that kind of hair, that was okay to straighten. Just keep your eye on it and keep your nose on it as well. Yeah, you know a thing or two about using your snout, don't you? So, just be careful. Now, Jack P. Pierce did use a soldering iron, a singeing iron, primitive hair tongs for hair styling, to singe and burn and matte the look of it. But, as I say, I haven't done that so far. And I may not, because I managed to affect quite the bushy look that he should have. Now, I'll go on record now as saying that I think this mask looks more like the Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, the sequel to the Wolfman. I know Frankenstein's name comes first in that, but it's more of a sequel to the Wolfman movie than it is to any Frankenstein saga. Now, and in that, Jack P. Pierce's makeup for Lon Chaney is a bit tuftier. He has more going on around here, around the chinny chin chin and around the neck. Whereas in the original Wolfman, it's not quite so profuse. In fact, if you go back, and I watched the film a lot, and if you look at publicity pictures, you look at stills from the movie, yeah, there's the big tufty bits on top and all of that, but the chin is not quite so profuse, and the hairline around the face is quite pronounced. Everyone made this mistake of saying, well, on that mask, there should be fair all the way across the face. Go back and watch the film again. The fair does come across the face, but it's not tufty. It's in little, very finite strands, just like a bit of stubble on his face. And there's the universal herald for the Wolfman, as far as I'm concerned. Every time I hear the universal fanfare in the good old days, I just think of Lon Chaney. Although every monster had that as well. But yeah, the hair was more finite, and there is some on it, but it's nowhere near. Oh, it should be all over his face. It is not all over his face. And the other thing is, some people don't like the blackened end of the snout. It is black. I know in some shots it doesn't look that way, but watch the film again and look at most of the film stills, and I've got gazillions of films of posters everywhere of him. His nose is black. Pierce mentioned, I blackened the snout, I gave him the darkest snout of the beast. But, so what have you done then, Kilt-Man? What have you done to this mask? I have took, and I always say this, well, I've recently begun saying this, that I take my daughter's Sharpie pens, because I can't afford those little aerosol spray paints, and I don't trust myself. I think I'd completely make a mockery of this, and I'm not craft-minded. I know I'm trying to do a little bit, but the point of this, the purpose is that, you don't have to be a talented artist to get an effect that you may like. All I've done, right, now, there it is, soon to become infamous, my daughter's Sharpie pen case. And, like with that mask, like with, a few others, the Freddy Krueger one, the Darkman mask, and a few others, I have accentuated areas and I've made them more livid, and I've used the likes of hairspray and lacquer to make them glisten and shine, because some of them, their characters should be livid, the wounds should be bright and ghastly, but when they're quite dull. The detail is there, but the paintwork is dull. But you can certainly, using a pen, you can highlight certain elements and then use lacquer or hairspray to make that shine and glisten, and it works. There's no hairspray on this dude, by the way. But I took what I was going to say to you was a brown Sharpie, and I've just noticed it isn't. It's a Crayola. It's a Crayola Super Tips, but brown. Right now, all I did was I just did little, and you don't be too afraid, because you just don't go too far. Don't just go. Eh. Do look what you're doing, and do keep a distance from it, and then go in close and come back again. And I went over all the grooves, all the contours, all the lines and wrinkles, all the darker areas, and made them darker again. And the beauty of that pen was that once it was on, you could smudge it, and the smudging, you'll find, lent itself to the entire leathery visage. So it gives it that more weathered, darker, more bestial look to it. I mean, look at it from the side. That's outstanding. I mean, I know the mask itself is outstanding, and all I've done is darken the skin of it, the leathery skin. And fair wise, yeah, I have played about with the fair, but I must have been quite lucky when I unboxed mine, because it wasn't slicked back. I know people have opened them and they've gone like, it's like Bela Lugosi's hair. It's just a complete slick back look, which is completely wrong. So you're going to have to play with that. But this mask has one hell of a great coverage of fair. So you can tuftify it, you can mess around with it. And the thing is, the fair creeping across the face, it does come down the forehead. And in certain shots, because don't forget, they filmed this over several, days of the monster stuff, and it'd be spending hours in the makeup chair, lots of photographs. But this is going back some time now, so continuity might not be as great as finite as you'd see it nowadays. So sometimes he would appear with a bit more fair coming down here, and tuftier eyebrows, and it more blended in. And sometimes he would appear with a slightly more creeping in on the sides of the cheeks. But that's just the way it is, So, but the thing that you must do, because whatever still on whatever version you look at, his hair does not start up there and get swept back. It's tufty as hell down here. He's got a bit of a bouffant, so you need to drag that down. Bring that down there. Now, and it kind of goes up like that, because the sides are tucked in nice and neat-ish. But and it's quite clearly delineated down underneath this glorious underbite. The underbite, which is glorious. I've darkened that, and I've sort of lightened and added a bit of colour to the lip. You can't see in this light, I suppose, but I have added a little bit. But again, not too much. You don't want it too livid, because it doesn't look like that. But the way to get the hair into the face without gluing it, because you might not want to do that. Now, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to start gluing a little bit of fair across the top of the cheekbones, because I might do that, because that's where it is, and it's very thin. It's not completely fairy across the face. It's not. That's not how he looks. So all I've done, really, for the purposes of this, I've just dragged some fair across, because there's so much of it. You can drag it across, and you can change, because that should be swept back, and I mean that's too arch, isn't it? So you want to get some of that out there. And now what you could do with that is just glue some of that down. Take a few strands and maybe glue them further across. But basically you're smudging that outline. Do you get what I mean? So that is nowhere near as arch and as defined. See on this side, just pull it across, and because you've got little bits of tuft, you could even snip them off and glue them so they're not sticking up. You can stick them down, and that's probably what I'll do at some point. But hey, I love this mask as it is, and I loved it when I first got it, and now I love it even more. Now, I was initially going to show you this out there in the conservatory where it was very light, and I put up a big display with all these masks, and something just fell down there. Well, an omen for you, because what happened? All the masks I set up, all these Wolfie masks, fell and collapsed, and I thought, oh, fuck it. Oh, I can't be arsed doing it here. Let's come in here, because I want to play the music as well. So I thought, well, I'll come in here then, and I'll put the ring light on. And I think the ring light may probably detract. Should I turn it off? Should we have a little look? Because what I'm coming to is that when I walked through, and it was darker in here and more subdued, and I was looking at him, and oh my god, it looked fantastic. So let's just see. I mean, I don't know. This may look completely shit, but okay. Well, I don't know. Does it even look that different? Right now, I don't know, because the sunlight's coming through that window. Right in front of us. But look at that, though. Now, that looks like their publicity picture, because it's been darkened. I haven't darkened the snout. I have not darkened that. But I've darkened everything else. Now, the eyes was always a thing that I thought, well, that's unusual. Can you see the bloodshot eyes, the burst blood vessels in the eyes? Well, I mean, that was a thing when the publicity art for this come out and the first images. I was like, does he have bloodshot eyes? Went back and watched the film. You can't tell. How can you tell? And the one thing I always want to find out is, does Lon Chaney Jr. wear contact lenses? And you look at, I've got tons of stuff on the full transformations and the makeup effects, and I can't find any definitive answer to this, whether he wore contacts. And I always thought those eyes, with their sort of green, sort of, I don't know, off jade, black flecked sort of irises, was that genuine? I mean, now, again, it's a black and white movie, although colour stills do exist, but I've looked at all of these, and it's only sort of recently I found some great pictures, which I could show you now, but I'd be holding the book up to the lens, the camera, and you probably wouldn't see it, but you can see that there's definitely something about those eyes. There is. So I'm going out on a limb and saying that, yeah, he wore contacts, because that colour and that little flecked sort of, don't you picking that up at all? That's there. Especially in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, where his eyes look even more demonic. But it's a lot of the publicity shots where you can see that his eyes and the close-ups, his eyes are definitely, well, they're not human. They're not human eyes, those. So, anyway, I've gone out on a limb there and said that, but whatever. So I believe that those are more accurate now. I thought it was a bit of poetic license at first, and maybe the bloodshot bits are, but without a doubt, the colouring of the eyes and the shape of the eyes, and there's detail on them which is not like my eye, you know. It's a mask, Kilt-Man. Don't get so worked up about it. Have a drink of whiskey and just calm down. And that's the best advice. So, he says, reaching for his blended Scotch whiskey from the co-op. Yes, it's another one that my mum, big Kilt mama, has managed to procure for me. Because she thinks that they're nice and cheap, these little bottles, so she gets about 10 of them. And I turn up and go, oh, I've got you some whiskey. Cheers, on. Thank you. She better get some more. Anyway, so we're now playing the music from Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. Again, Hans J. Salter and Frank Skinner. Wonderful stuff. So you can, if you've got this mask or you intend on getting this mask, you could be very happy with it. And I was, but there's things you can do which won't be too earth-shattering, won't destroy your mask. Just play about with the fare. You can play with the big barnet as much as you want. I mean, you could never stop. I'm happy with that. I've managed to drag that down enough for me, and it's got that sort of, well, it could be tuftier and sort of more hillocky, because I think that's how it looks, but that'll be the singeing that Jack P. Pierce did with the yak hair. But you know, you could work on that, but I wouldn't want anyone going out there and getting crimpers or irons on it and it's gone up in flames. I don't want you doing that. Just have a care, have a thought, and think what you're doing, and just be very careful. But you can easily drag. You probably aren't getting that, but I've dragged a few tiny little strands across there, which to my eye actually look really good. So if you had haired those, for example, you've not only broken up that very rigid hairline, but you've added a bit of hairy texture where it is in the film, and then you could perhaps slightly work on it. Just do a few either side, and you've got it then. I mean, can you see? I don't know if you can see. Probably isn't coming out too well. But you get a few of those across there. So it's too bright, even without the ring light on. I'll tell you what, I'll put that back on. Fun with ring lights. Can you see that a bit better? Maybe you can. I don't know. There's a few strands there, and what you could do with those, because the way it's worked out, they were put on in strips. So you just have a strip, a strip, a strip, and you don't need to elaborate and go all the way down the leathery jowls here. You don't need to do that. Well, you can if you want, but you don't need to. The effect is certainly given with the little tufts that you're bringing across and the strands. But by far the biggest change to this, apart from bringing the hairline down, which you definitely need to do that, is darkening all of this and around the eyes and just darkening the overall aesthetic of that face. So, folks, there you go. Fun with Wolfman. Oh yeah, I haven't worn this for absolutely ages. Let's just sit Cossack. The knees, feet going everywhere. Where's Evelyn Anchors? I hate her. In fact, where's the booze? I love the booze more. Yeah, I mean, a turquoise t-shirt isn't really going to do it, but oh god. But yeah, don't forget if you're using Sharpies or whatever colouring pens you're going to do, on this mask I would say apply it and then smudge it slightly. Yes, you're going to get shitty looking fingers, but like you've been picking your butt. But smudge it around a bit. You don't want it too overt. You don't want to be accentuating things that don't. You're bringing out the detail and the fine texture and contours, but you don't want to highlight them, if you know what I mean, because it'll look a different colour. So you smudge it in, and when you smudge it in, you're going to get a shadow effect, and then if you put a bit more on, you smudge it in more, then you're going to get the effect of depth on a crevice and a wrinkle. So, you know, I mean, the nose, the light's shining right now, but the nose is a case in point. I with the little grooves there, I would fill that in with lots of little bits of brown, and then smudge it round, and it would dilute it, but what it was doing was taking over the overall aesthetic look and making the skin darker, and doing that pretty much everywhere gave it that kind of more unified, uniform look. There's some bits are darker than others, so I have darker in the eyes. They don't look darker in this for some reason. Maybe I'm just used to it. See, if I had the mask to begin with and held the two of them like that, you would see a vast difference. Vast. But I'm now looking at this because the last couple of days I've been dicking around with it, and to me it just looks normal now. But None of this was as dark as you see it now. None of it. Although it's getting highlighted by the ring light. Anyway, folks. Enough. Enough. You agree? All here? Yeah? Hey, Wolfman, Larry. Remember this? Oh, sorry. Too soon. Yeah, I know. Folks, I have been and always shall be Kilt-Man. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've got this mask and if you've done anything with it. And whether you think it's even worth doing anything with, because you haven't got to. I'm not saying go out, get all your masks down and change them all now. Do it. No, only if you want to. Only if you want to. And even then, I'd advise a lot of caution as well, you know, because someone's worked on these. It's really only the paintwork and the hair which need stuff doing to them. The actual mould, you can't change that. No, I know some people can, but there you go. If you're gonna buy a mask and then you're gonna change the absolute shape of it as well completely and remold it, why'd you buy it in the first place? I don't know. But anyway, from me and the pack here, keep it kilted, keep it Celtic, be happy, be healthy, be hairy, and we're all gonna see you later.